Good morning, traders. This is Alex with the StockMatrix program. We're going to do a review. Market's been a little jittery, kind of a forecasted, I think, an artificial break. We'll get into that. Here is the X account, kind of my standard intro. CBOTman33 is my handle, and I post stuff, different trades that I might have done that I didn't do a video on. Again, the trend has been pretty up, so it's been a fairly boring thing to talk about. We did have a little jitter though here recently, which again I think is obvious. Let's go to the bar chart. Here is the portfolio. I can't remember. I think it was up to like 54,000. Now we're at 48,000. I think I seen a low of 44 again. Doesn't really matter, right? The only thing that really matters is your closed out trades. Um, and we did have 4 trades that got taken off in the shakeup. They were all calls. Now some of them were August, so we were going to roll them either way, right? But pretty much a mixed bag. Some I guess net we probably gained a little bit on those. A little tricky to actually get out of some of those on these gaps that occurred, which we'll get into. So anyway, you can take a look at that. We've had 96 trades, 17 current, and again we do have some August on that'll be taken off. 1 week prior to expiration, right? So that'll be tomorrow. We'll be taking off and rolling, unless they get knocked out first. 1 week prior to, stay one strike in the money. It's a simple thing. It's just a standard. Now we go at least 90 days out, just like the entries. So if the trend's a 2-year trend, you're going to have, what, 8 trades, right? Just on rolling. Now, again, once you roll, and especially if it's profitable, like Meta here, 10 grand, they can't take that away. Now they can chop you to death or something, but they can't take whatever So that's the advantage of rolling. There is definitely a play there logically. Anyway, let's go now to the actual StockMatrix program. Here's our statistical page. Again, we got some annuals that are coming in today. Again, today's Thursday, August 7th at about 7 in the morning, about an hour and a half prior to the official opening. But you can see we got NVIDIA, Meta, Apple, and Tesla all have timing coming in. All of them are highs except for NVIDIA. Again, this is my, if you, I don't know if you've seen this before, but you can copy, screenshot it. I'm going to get rid of this now so you can go back and screenshot it. Again, that's just the 45s, kind of a Gann thing, right? Basically cycles of 45 calendar days. But we did have some stuff come in. Again, these are the 45s I've just showed you, right? So we had IBM, Adobe, Apple, Tesla, ED. Now Adobe or IBM had 2, right? The 45s coming up Saturday, I guess. So again, we're going to look at it today, and then 1350 as well. So again, these are all ones coming up. 945 is going to be tomorrow. So some of these are coming in, but definitely IBM's got an interesting one here as well, right? So anyway, let's go to this trade sheet. Yeah, we've got 9 up and 8 down, so pretty neutral. Again, the one puts that we got kind of put on a couple days ago are all losers so far. So again, it kind of was a manufactured trade, which I'll get into here once we get into the actual charts. Let's just go ahead and get into there now. Okay, here's NVIDIA, and you can see it closed on its butt on the moon period. Again, I do moons for time and square of 9 for price, kind of a Gann thing, right? And I keep track of the one-to-ones, the cardinal crosses, the parallel channels, right, based on the one-to-ones, and then the squaring of time and price as well. So, which again is important to me, and it does offer some interesting trade tidbits as well as if you're trying to find spots to maybe add or maybe exit some of these trades. Our stops are here. Now we'll get moved up 1 tick tomorrow. Once again the 9th will be on Saturday, so we'll exit these trades tomorrow, or excuse me, raise these stops up tomorrow, and I'll do an update on this. Here's Meta, again, kind of just a climber. Again, you can see here's the, I don't know, I guess it's pretty important timing coming up, but again, not for a bit. The stops will be raised up. I won't get raised up, but they'll move over in time since we had this current break. Again, new highs, just kind of, Meta's been one of those strong dogs. Coke's been kind of the pooch, just a chopper. I don't believe we made any money in Coke. Google, kind of a chopper. Microsoft was the big dog, and it had some weird ass intraday gap up and then closed crappy. So on the moon period, so I don't know. It's just I don't understand gaps this day and age on supposedly an AI world. Again, if you watch my other videos, you know I've been bitching about that tremendously. But anyway, here's Amazon. I just want to go through these quickly here because I want to go to the daily charts. Here's Apple. Again, a pooch, right? Trend is still down short term. Long term trend is now down as well since we're short, but the stops are right over these highs. The two solar eclipses are right up here, right? So I'm assuming we'll go up there more than likely. Here's the 1-to-1 coming off the high. I assume we'll get stopped out and just chopped to death in Apple, as it is a pooch with fleas. Here is Tesla. Again, cannot shake the 1-to-1 downtrend line. Been kind of banging on it 1, 2, 3, almost 4 times. The cardinal cross area is resistance. The cardinal cross area is support. This one right here. Right, so that cardinal cross area is support, and this one up here has kind of been the resistance. So once we break that pattern, I think Tesla will move in a direction up or down, right? We don't know yet. The short-term trend is up, and we are short, though. Again, an outside period, an inside, and now another inside. So it just has no direction at this point, hence we are losing money on it. Here's Lynn. Kind of had this weird, again, stop getting trick, I call it, right? They went down and got people out, and then back up into the range. So, again, several times, right? So the system that I set out isn't working too well on Lynn because of how it trades so far. Here's ED, Edison Electric Company. Again, I think a pretty safe investment because they never lose money, right? If they lose money, they raise their price. So it's like the best of both worlds. So anyway, we just keep climbing. Again, the target is probably the solar eclipse. 135 degrees is right in here. Solar eclipse. This is kind of my thought. It'll probably go up to. Here's Adobe, the dog with fleas. Definitely a bear market. Caught in this huge 1-to-1 trend line, parallel channel down, right? The square of the range is coming up here, August 16th, so next week. Here's IBM. Again, IBM had this gap down, which, again, if you've listened to my videos, you know that was concerning to me, that they're paving the way for gaps for all these other markets, all these other stocks, and we have had them. So Apple paved the way for all these other dumb AI. IBM has their own AI that's supposedly smart. It's fucking stupid. It pisses me off. It's illegal. This 10% decline is just a crime. They're stealing money. Here is BK, Bank of Magellan, a New York bank. One of the older companies that I've recorded on, and it's a new all-time highs last moon period. So, and we're up above the previous two closes. So I would assume this would be support tomorrow if it had some weird anomaly break and a crappy close for the moon period. Here's Procter and Gamble. Not new lows, right? But lows it's been in quite a while. Target would probably be a pop back to this solar eclipse, but it's definitely a bear market, but not aggressive. The speed of the decline is pretty weak. Here's JPM, the diamond. Again, kind of a slow trog up here. An outside period here, and then an inside period, new highs, outside period, inside period. So it definitely gives you intraday or intra-week or intra-moon period breaks, right? To if you're bull or if you're trading it, right? Maybe shorter term, to definitely don't get wild. No, I missed it. Better get in. It gives you opportunities, even now smaller, right? Now since it made new highs, we have tested it that one time, so that really doesn't need to do it again. So I like the stop here on us. If it goes down through that, hits it again, I think I would want to be out or short. Here is Coinbase, again, another gap. Again, IBM led the way, right? So again, that's just concerning. Again, Trump's tariffs are well known. We know what they're going to bring in. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise if you have a smart AI. For Christ's sakes, fucking AI is going to be the death of these markets. People are trusting that. They're programs. AI is programming. You can program it to be a bear. You can program it to be a bull. You can program it to be communist. You can program it to be, whatever you want. You can slant it to whatever direction you want it to go. If you want to see these big gaps because these companies buy their own dips, I mean, you're going to get them now. I mean, people think AI is smart. It's not. It's programmed to be whatever it wants to be. So, if they program the whole stock index is, the big ones, you can do it, right? I mean, they can program a date. You can change history with this new AI shit. We'll forget what happened 10 years ago, or 25 years ago. 25 years from now, the whole history will change because this AI is going to change it to whatever the programmer wanted it to be, or the powers to be wanted it to be. So this gap down is criminal in this day and age. We'll get into that a little bit more. Cintas, kind of a coiling pattern. Stops way down here. Now we will move these up to here after tomorrow. Again, today is Thursday, so. Okay, now let's go through the daily charts here real quick. Okay, here's a video on the daily chart and the DA. You can see we had some stuff come in, a few annuals from last year's move. Let me see. Yeah, that was this low right here. So again, pretty important, right? Kind of the break. Now we did take that out, so a little less importance than it was prior to that when I posted it. You can see though we've got some other stuff coming in. So again, that's what you want. You want to see some annuals. When they don't have any annuals, that means there's no, like right in here, There's no annuals. We had some monthly stuff, but when there's no annuals, you have no resistance or support. The market tends to trend when you don't have annuals. You can see here when we had annuals, it caused it to consolidate, give you an idea of the power of these annuals, right? So now again, we're coming into a stretch annuals again. I assume we're going to maybe have a little pause. Now again, I talked about this manufactured break. It makes sense here, right? In our option program, we know that we bought, example, NVIDIA down in here, right? 90 days, a quarter of a year. Like for us, we use options that go out 90 days. So a lot of these other big outfits do the kind of exact same thing. So there's going to be a manufactured break usually around that 90-day period. Now it can be a pause. You don't have to gap 10 fucking percent for Christ's sakes. God, I hate that. Anyway, sorry IBM, I hate you guys now. I liked IBM until they did something criminal. You know, they have a stupid AI. Can't even predict their own stock price. Anyway, so again, IBM and NVIDIA and all of them had this, I think, are going to have this manufactured break, right? You know, Meta went gapped up, right? Well, is that an exhaustion gap? I don't know if you've ever studied gaps, but there's, you know, exhaustion, midways, and there's measurements that you can apply to all those. You know, this gap made a little sense, right? These little gaps I don't mind, but these gaps uncalled for. That was 11.3% up in Meta. Really? You mean the AI can't predict? Come on, Jesus. They can't program every ounce of thing in there and tell you exactly what should happen. It should have been forecasted long ago. Back in here, they should have known where the price is going to go based on the seasonality and this and that. You know, and you know, Trump's been in there. He's been in there before, so we know what he's going to do. There's nothing, no surprises. He's been talking tariffs from the beginning. Again, no surprise. So anyway, again, another criminal gap up. It was with the direction of the trend, right? But again, now what? Is it over? I mean, you know, now if it would have went up there and if with some construction, it would have made a lot more sense. So now, you know, it's confusing. Again, confusion is a part of art of war, right? The art of Sun Tzu, you know, confusion is definitely a way to go. You know, we haven't seen any gap like that. Now, there was one down here, and that completed the correction. And now we've just gapped up. Is it completing the bull? I don't know. Again, this is support down here along these old highs areas. So, you know, we start dropping this market down, makes it a little more scary for some, I'm assuming. Now, this one did have a bear trap. So I'm assuming we're going to have a bull trap for every action is equal but opposite reaction. And I think it makes sense that we'll see some type of trap activity. Especially this is the bull, you know, one of the big bulls of the 17 select stocks that we have. That was definitely one of the bigger ones. Here's Coke. Again, kind of in the crosshairs here, August 12th, August 13th, kind of the cyclical stuff for me on my matrix count. Here's Google. Again, a lot of annuals. Of course, it's an old company because I use Google L, Googl, to actually chart the stuff because it has more data in the history. And then I apply it to Google. I don't know why I just didn't use the L, but whatever. So you can see this high. Now, if this drops, I'll flip these two around. But right now, just kind of holding at the area. Again, the highs have been a while, right? So it wasn't, you know, it's been at least 7-8 days for any of these markets to have made a new high. Here's Microsoft. Again, that high occurred on the 31st. Again, another gap up. Imagine that, you know, completion. Now this gap, at least it never challenged it, right? So a fundamental change maybe, still uncalled for. But Microsoft doesn't have a smart AI. I mean, they can't predict shit 3 months in the future. I don't understand it. But anyway, another gap here. So this island, this whole thing here is an island, right? So if we gap down now, that'll definitely be an island top, which you hardly ever see. And you shouldn't see this day and age, but you're starting to see a few more. And guess what? Another gap down. Amazon AI is stupid too. So again, can't predict nothing. Gap up, gap down. I mean, come on. Again, that's the concern. You know, I mentioned that when IBM did its thing, right? That's kind of, you find one that does it that's big, like a company like that. You know, Amazon does a lot of business, man. They're a great company. I buy a lot of stuff off Amazon. I don't ever buy Adobe, but I do a lot of business from Amazon, so it makes more sense of the bull market there and what it's been doing. Here's Apple again, just a dud. We ain't gonna make any money in Apple, I'm afraid, because it just isn't trending. Same thing with Tesla right now. Now it has some pretty good swings, so we're not getting killed there. And they take time, right? These trends take time, so our losses are a lot smaller. You know, if it's more quicker, then the system like mine is going to lose. But when they take a little time, now eventually, if we get out of this triangular pattern, either a bull or bear, I think it'll probably have a pretty good trend. You can see this decline was big, and well, let me just do it here. If we have a identical break, let me get something you can see. That is kind of a projected low down here on September 12th. Now, of course, that's an interesting time frame because that's the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse sequence is coming up into that zone. So the solar eclipse was in this zone. So again, it makes sense cyclically. Let me see. I think it's the 21st. So that's the solar eclipse zone. So this measurement makes sense. Now that's a long drop, my God. I mean, you're talking 360 to 90. Can it happen? I don't know. I'm not here to tell you the way. But now maybe it'll be a bull, right? So you can flip this around from this area and mark it up to here. I don't know. Let me just do it. Well, again, you can see the possibilities. So definitely, $100 would make sense. I guess if it's going to have some smash. I think Tesla has come out with so much stuff, though. I'm more of a theory that we're not going to collapse. I'm thinking in my brain, my little pea brain, that it's going to stay sideways more than and have some massive bear market. Again, I shouldn't think logically. That's why the system makes money, and most people that don't have a system lose, right? Here's Lynn. Big chopper down, just kind of in a sideways action as well. ED, again, kind of the bull when everything else was bearish back in April, made its high right when everything else made its low, and now it's kind of just hanging. So it makes sense, right? We talked about this resistance area here, and then of course the solar's up here. So this will be the area target on a slow chopper back. Here's Adobe, that ugly, big channeling deal, and you can see definitely if that gets down there, it's going to be ugly too. It's going to be down in here in the 240s. Now, again, logically, the contractual people that are dealing with the government, like Adobe does, and I'm sure a lot of other ones out there that I'm not aware of, they, do everything on contracts, and some of these contracts are going to get canceled because people don't even use it. I mean, they pay for it and don't use it, or the people are gone, they still are paying, right? So these contractual deals, companies like Adobe, I'm afraid, are going to get the axe, and they should, right? I mean, if they're ripping off the government. Now, it ain't their fault. It's the people that are government spending should know better. Here's IBM, that stupid ass 7% down to 10% in one day. It did follow through, at least, so it doesn't a little less bitch. But we bought it back in here and we sold it here. So we got filled here. We actually lost money on this trade, even though if you had the stocks, you wouldn't have lost anything. You would have made a little bit, but the options depreciated because we had the August options on. Bought in August, 90 days ahead, so we only had 20 days left, and then it took all the time value away as well. So we ended up losing about $300-400, which makes sense there. Now this high though, it's been a while, right? The 25th, so it's been over. Here's the 25th, right? One day off from this gap. So cyclically, it made sense that there would be something weird like that. And it so far is continuing. So it's actually acting a little bearish now. Back in here when we did this is the kind of area we thought we'd break to. Not in one day, but anyway, this is the old previous solar eclipse, so definitely a level support. We did not have a trap up here, a bull trap. So we kind of had a double top, kind of, secondary event. So I assume that same theory here now. It could do a trap, but it doesn't have to because we didn't at the highs. Now here's BK, really one of the stronger bulls, which is interesting for a bank. Again, bailout banks, I guess. I mean, they have no risk either. Procter & Gamble, one of the bears. A lot of products are in the news, a little negatorily, and hence the decline. It's been a while since we had these highs. So now this first high came in November. So I'm assuming, if we're going to make a low on a slow decline, I'm assuming, watch October, November, maybe March, right? Might have a chopper bottom since we had a chopper top. Here's JPM, the diamond. Oh, guess what? Another gap down. Again, IBM led the way for all this, I'm sorry to say. Here's Coinbase. Oh, another gap down. Thanks, IBM, for letting us be able to gap now. I mean, every company, really. Coinbase, if they hire an AI, they better fire them because they suck. Here's Cintas, kind of a chopper of choppers. Back in here, they had the split, and the market never drops after a split. Boom, down 20%. Oh, guess what? Another gap. Again, just stupid. Just dumb. This is a BlackRock kind of controlled company, so that's the why, right? They wanted to buy a big break, so they manufactured something and loaded up the ship. Now we made new high. Again, they're pretty freaking evil, I think, some of these bigger companies. Of course, I'm come from the commodity world. I know evil. There are a lot of cheaters out there that are corrupt, and they get together, and even though they're not supposed to, right? Insider trading. We'll catch them having coffee together and talking about stuff. What are you going to do? Or having a beer after work. Saying, yeah, you sell in the morning and I'll buy in the evening. Okay. Here's the S&P, new highs, backed off. Again, broke trend, which, again, a correction, you have to break something. So this broke this uptrend line. This thing has been broken, what, 5, 6 times now. Now we'll have another one over here, and in the future we'll break it again. Now, again, a real good correction would be down into here, maybe an ABC type of correction, right? Here's the Dow, kind of the creeped out the highs, and then broke up trend, broke the swing. Definitely swing trading, you're negative. You'd be selling this at back rally here on the Dow. Here's the NASDAQ, again, because it just didn't break the trend line and broke the swing. So, and on a new highs. So, if you're a swing trader, now I'm not, but kind of, I understand it, right? Again, I'm assuming that this is going to have some ABC type correction back down into here. Unless it's over, we're going to have some big bear. They're trying. This creeping markets, man. I tell you what, in my memory banks and past markets, we've 1988 when I was trading, we had a huge bear market. The stock market dropped in half in 2 weeks. People were jumping out of buildings. I don't know if you remember that. I do. They were committing suicide because they lost their money and they jumped out of windows. Kill themselves. Now they just steal more. So I don't know. I call it manufactured breaks because they need to roll out of options. They need to do stuff, so they create news, right? Whether it's true or not, hell, prove it anymore. There's nobody actually does actual news work. Very few. One person posts something on the Twitter, and then everybody reposts it, thinking it's true, and that's the news nowadays. There's no one on the beat reporting things. If I was a news reporter, I'd be going to IBM saying, "Why did you break 10%? Your AI isn't working, or was it a mistake? Give me some answers why you broke 10% in one day. Not even a weekend, by the way. Just a what? How did you buy any on the break? Do some investigation. They don't do any investigating. I'm freaking criminal." Here's the QQQ, kind of like the NASDAQ, but actually it's a little stronger. It's not quite like the NASDAQ, but it follows it fairly close. Kind of creeped it out, had a gap up, finally took it out and just kept creeping here. Now we gap down again. So now this here's a midway gap. Again, the indexes just follow the actual stock, so it has nothing to do with them personally. But you can see over time, here's a monthly chart. These deals nowadays, you have bulls and bears, but the tendency is you drop in half, right? So if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 months down, the next one will be 6, 7 months down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So it loses, it's the same amount of break, but less time. The speed of the decline, the momentum, right, is much different. So it changes, again, it's still mathematical. So, you can assume that this break could go up half the speed as well, right? So if you went up 26, it could go 13. So it could be here the high, right? Again, you lose half the time. Same results, just faster, right? That's your mathematics going to work here. Let's do one other thing. I want to go look at a few commodities. Hang on with me. Well, these tariffs, people were talking about them. Commodities where I used to come from, stock market, you never see this, right? This is corn, spot chart on the corn. You have to worry about futures months and rolling and deliveries and all kinds of stuff, spreads. But here's the spot month. You can see that back in 2014, after this bull, it was in a 5-year, 6-year sideways kind of declining chop. Really. Then it, once it made the trap low, it shot up, made a trap high, right? So, but now we're kind of back down in there, coming up on resistance. Corn is one of those that feeds the world, man. Feeds all the animals. Corn's a big deal. Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, Indiana, Ohio, right? All these big areas produce a lot of corn. And we, why do farmers have to get punished for raising the best in the world, in which we are? This is the best corn in the world. People want it. It has better protein. It sucks all the nutrients from our ground and all the fertilizer they put into it. But again, the little downside
refresh finished
is that the markets tend to hold these bear markets or chops for quite a while. You get peaks, and then these troughs are huge, right? Again, just amazing. This one, again, went back up there. Wasn't that long ago that we had the bull. So the punishment for having this bull is the decline. Again, food prices will drop, and it has been dropping.
Refresh finished.
The big egg scare was a scam. That's a manufactured deal, right? Toilet paper scam, right? You know, all these scams are out there. Back in my day, it was baling twine. Back in the 80s, they had a shortage of baling twine, couldn't get it. Well, they just kept holding them back in the warehouse, and the prices went 3, 4, 5, 6 times higher, and then they sold them all, made a shit ton of money. Anyway, same thing here, right? This is wheat. That other one was soybeans. This is wheat. This one here was soybeans. Again, just kind of there. Beans are king. Wheat is again food, right? Bread. So just a dud, man. This new all-time highs, and then we're gonna get punished for that, I'm afraid. So I would assume, you know, either a sideways chop forever, or you know, plunder out lows. Because again, you just can't be rewarded. And we had the lowest planted acres back in here. The lowest planted acres since horse and buggy days. Yet the market stayed down, so the fundamentals didn't matter. And the market went up after the fact. And now, of course, we have more acres, so it could be definitely interesting if they're going to try to trade fundamentals. All right, I just wanted to show you a few commodities, you know, stuff that you relate to because you eat food. The food prices apparently have abundance, so you don't need to stockpile too much, you know, on your. Again, you don't stockpile wheat anyway. You know, you people make bread. You know, maybe a few people buy flour, but. All right, I'm done. I just wanted to share a little commodity look at stuff, and we'll visit. And be careful out there; these gaps are real. Use options if you have a stock position on. Maybe not mine, right? Again, I'm just trying to show you and teach you how to use options and a systematic approach, right? But if you have something else, Starbucks or you know, whatever stock, be a little careful. These gaps are real. Let's say you have 400 shares of Starbucks, you know, and you got a big chunk of profit made, but you're getting a dividend, but you don't want to get out. Buy some puts against them. You know, it's 4 puts. Maybe cost you $1,000, $2,000 on Starbucks. I don't even know what the price. I just know that that's probably what it'll cost you. You know, you go out a year, keep getting the dividend. You know, again, just to get through this time period, and then once we get more stable, I think in the next 6 months, especially if we get a dividend back from the Trump tariffs, you're going to see this really the stocks probably explode, in my opinion. But, you know, there's evil out there, right? They don't want this to succeed, so you got to be careful of wars, some weird-ass bomb going off. You know, riots are usually manufactured, which if you follow the news, you kind of know. I haven't watched news in, I don't know, 4 years. I follow a few people, and that's it. I don't worry about the news so much anymore because it's all bullshit. Because no one goes out and does the actual legwork. They don't go out and investigate. You know, they just said, oh, this one guy says from Iowa that the corn crop is big. Huh? Says who? Because one guy said it? So that's the real news? No, you know, go out and do some investigation, do a crop count. You know, you don't trust the guys who do a crop counts because they're usually short the market, right? So you do your own. Do an investigation. Is there disease? You know. Anyway, I'm done. I'm rambling. You be careful, though. That's all I'm saying. Have a great one. Bye.